Good evening. It is 6:05 and we are calling the Fish and Game Commission meeting to order. As there had not been an organizational meeting earlier this year, I will start with the roll call and then we will go into item 2, which is the election of officers. Commissioner Newman?
Present.
Commissioner Van? Commissioner Van, you appear to be muted.
How was that?
You were muted, but
okay, I'm present.
I can see you're present. And Commissioner Madigan?
Present.
Commissioner Paulison?
Present.
And Commissioner Pellar appears to be absent. But we do have a quorum and we can start our meeting. So we will go into item 2. I would like to request that the commission nominate a chair and a vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Ann Newman as chair and Red Hawk Pallison as vice chair.
I second Red Hawk as vice chair.
And I second and chair.
So, Randy, can you make that an official motion since you made the nomination?
Sure. Yeah, I motion that we elect or request that Anna Newman be chair and Red Hawk Pallison vice chair.
Okay. As Red Hawk had seconded Anna's nomination and Anna seconded Red Hawk's nomination, can we please have that in 2 separate motions?
I second Red Hawk as for his nomination to continue his work as vice chair.
And I second the nomination of Anna Newman as chair. Is that what you're looking for, Caitlin?
Not exactly. So that's still combining them into one motion.
Oh, so Randy needs to do a step, or Randy does a motion, maybe Patty does the other one, and then we'll go from there? Would that work?
Or Patty could second and it could be one motion.
Okay, perfect.
Patty's so seconds. I'm not sure who I'm seconding. Am I seconding Anna or am I seconding?
You would be seconding the motion.
Okay.
And the current motion on the table is a motion to elect Commissioner Newman as the chair and Commissioner Paulson as the vice chair.
Okay, I second Anna Newman as the chair and Red Hawk Paulson as the vice chair.
Thank you. And can we have a vote? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. You may proceed with your meeting.
I did email Tracy and sent her the link just in case she somehow lost track of the day.
So the links are specific to each of you as
Oh, okay.
lists.
She'll figure it out.
I will continue to check my email in case she sends one in.
Alrighty.
Cool, thank you. And thanks, Caitlin, for taking over and getting us all squared away. You're doing a great job. But we're all here. We've gone through our elections. So I'm just following through on our agenda. Can we start talking about the approval of minutes from the February 10th meeting? Does anyone have questions, comments about those?
Did I get the February 10 meetings? Is that what
I'm
you're,
looking for.
I have the March 9 and the January 20.
Whoops. I have same. I believe we would have approved the January 20th meeting minutes.
Caitlin seems to have a comment on that.
Oh,
She's muted though.
okay, I'm looking at the wrong agenda. There we go. So, starting, I guess, with January 20th. Seems like a fairly basic meeting to approve, as I believe Patty was the only one present. Yeah. Okay, I'm on the bus of struggling here. All of my agendas seem to be mixed up. My apologies.
It would be great if we could screen share and see an agenda, but I don't know if we have that technology yet here. That'd be great.
What am I looking at?
Hey, when we all get our COVID shots, can we meet in person again?
That will be dependent on the county as well as the technological software available.
Has anybody heard from Commissioner Becerra?
I am screen sharing now. I do have an announcement when we get to that section of the agenda regarding Commissioner Kura.
Oh, sure. Oh, thank you.
Looks like the agenda's coming. All right. Thank you so much, Caitlin.
My pleasure.
Okay. February 10. All right, I'm gonna apologize for my disorganization. Has everybody else been able to look over the meeting minutes and figure out what I seem to not be able to figure out on which date goes with where? Has anyone seen any issues with, can we start at the January meeting?
It's not on the agenda.
Why am I seeing things in my brain?
It's February, which was.
February.
February is like, we don't have to approve those because it was just a canceled meeting for lack of a quorum.
Okay.
And then March 9th, and if everybody has a copy of those and looked over them, we
So,
can approve them and move on.
Patty, technically we do still have to approve the February minutes as it was agendized, it was live streamed. So
Okay.
even though it had to be canceled after it was started, it did technically take place.
But were there any minutes?
The minutes basically reflect that the meeting was opened by yourself. It was determined that there was not a quorum and therefore it was closed. All items on the agenda were shown as none for the February minutes.
Can I move that we approve the agenda, the minutes from February 10th then?
You can?
I so move.
And I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 I
Motion passes unanimously.
Oh, I found a typo. This is where my brain is going insane. The meeting minutes say January 10th in the header of the meeting minutes themselves.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected during the meeting, and I will make that correction and then post the finalized minutes with the correct date.
Yes, please.
Do you need a motion, Caitlin?
I just need the motioner to amend the motion to approve as corrected during today's meeting.
Wasn't that Anna? It wasn't me.
It was you, Patty. You made the original motion.
Oh, okay. Well, are we talking about February now, or are we talking about the March?
So in the February 10 meeting minutes in the PDF she sent us, there was a typo where the date is January 20th, but the rest of the meeting minutes read perfectly. So we just want to change the date to reflect the correct date of said meeting, which is why I've been so baffled on what's happening in January.
Okay, so I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes of February 10th as amended.
I second that.
Who made the second? I'm sorry,
Commissioner
screen
Van.
share.
Commissioner Van.
Thank you, Commissioner Van. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries to pass the February 10th minutes as corrected during this meeting to reflect the updated date. Do you still need to view the agenda?
No. I think I'm all set. Thank you.
Hello?
Hi, Tracy.
Hello? Hi. Hi, I'm so sorry that I'm late. I'm vacationing in Tahoe. I wrote it down. I put it everywhere. My friends came over and I absolutely lost track of time. I'm so sorry.
Well, we're in the middle of approving minutes, so you haven't missed much.
Oh, good. Okay. Whew. I approve. No.
Does anybody have anything to say about the March minutes? Has everybody had a chance to review them? Okay, so I'll make another motion that we approve. Is it the March 9th meeting minutes?
So the March 9th meeting minutes has the only commissioner present as Patty and absent as myself, Red Hawk, Tracy, Randy, and Michael. So in here then is our actual minutes of Commissioner Van reporting out that funds were awarded to the Lake Hammerhead project. So there's something afoot with the March minutes as well. Because we couldn't have all been absent again and then had minutes where we discuss and then we adjourned and we do said adjournments.
My apologies. If you would like me to correct these, there must have been a glitch between changing over computers and flash drives or something. We can
Yeah.
always readdress these minutes at the next meeting if you would prefer.
Let's do that.
Okay, I will carry both sets of minutes over to the next meeting, and we can review them then. Again,
Cool.
I sincerely apologize for the error.
No worries. We're all bumbling our way through this new world and
Yes,
You're doing great.
seriously. Yeah.
but this is why we have a group and we all get to look at the meeting minutes and it's everyone's biggest joy in life. Pre-review meeting minutes. But let's just go straight on forward then with the rest of our agenda. Randy, I believe you wanted to, or we all really wanted to discuss the possible action of continuing our grant funding projects. We've been going through and realizing that we are able to start that cycle again. So I'm curious what the rest of the commissioners think about the idea. Grant funding has been something that we've always loved to do as a commission because we have the ability to instill projects and money and research into our local communities. So thoughts, comments, questions? Anyone? Randy, or sorry, Red Hawk?
Okay, so this is to kind of fill, I think Patty, you were absent at the last meeting. So we do have funding. I found a report back from Adrian, and we have $121,851.33 in our budget. So with that, we're at the last reinstating our grants program. And so that's why we're here. To vote to make that happen. I recommend that we go to our normal cycle, which would start this coming fall. And then funding next spring. That allows, we're also currently undergoing an audit through Fish and Game or California Fish and Wildlife. Their financial auditors are looking at our budget. And so them time to see if there's any issues, and then we would get a report, and then we can continue forward. So
That sounds great. Do we need to make a motion to formalize this, that we're going to go back to our regular grant cycle? And I think that there's wisdom in this for a couple of reasons. One of them is that, as Caitlin was mentioning, our bylaws are ancient and we don't really want to, we want to be able to review them and revise them at some point. But since we kind of have standard practice, seems to me like the easiest thing to do in terms of the supervisors and in terms of the public is to go with what our standard operating procedures were.
I agree.
I also
Me too.
agree.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know if they were added to the bylaws or not, but well, it's been probably 6 or 7 years ago, we kind of worked over the way the grant cycle process worked. And I believe that, or I feel that it's working quite well for the commission and for the people applying for the grant. So I'd like to make a motion that we continue with the grant cycle the way it's been resolved in the last couple of years. It seems to be working fine.
I think we might want to put some more sidebars on that, because at one point we did discuss having when we didn't have much money in the grant budget, we talked about having some mini grants. So we're not doing that. So we should clarify that it's our traditional request for proposals. I believe we sent it out in November or December. And we reviewed them, I believe, in January, February. And we had presentations. People gave them the option to provide presentations. Then we had at least 2 people who would score and rank those proposals. Is this sort of like sounding familiar?
Yeah,
I remember I did it twice. And I haven't been on the commission for 7 years, so I'm not sure how it was done before.
I think we had 3 people doing the ranking and the scoring of the
Okay,
grants.
that sounds so much better, yeah. Subcommittee?
It was a subcommittee, I think. Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
It was an ad hoc group, and there was 3 personnel with the secretary.
Correct.
Yeah, I remember being at the Maple Cafe.
Yes.
The venerable Maple.
To reinstate this grant cycle, Caitlin, what do we need to do here?
So while Caitlin is muted and we're asking this question, I'm wondering, the one thing that I think would be good to improve would be to do an online application if possible, instead of people sending in a ton of paper. If that was something that we could do within our bylaws, I'd like to look into that, because I think that's much more, seems to me like that's like keeping up with the times.
Environmentally correct.
Yeah.
Agree. And
I
it's
think as
easier.
well, we've requested that folks send 3 copies of their application. And prior to working on the commission, I believe my old program applied, and it was like an 8-page application times 3. It was quite paper intensive. But yeah, perhaps we can circle back with the Board of Supervisors in the county to make sure that we're doing it in a way that's going to protect everyone's information. I know Google Forms have been used a lot, but they don't carry HIPAA. But if we're not worried about HIPAA standards, we might be able to do something like a simple Google form, which is fairly universal and easy to use.
I don't know that there's any real problem with making things transparent. It's public money and it's a public process. And so, you know, I mean, we wouldn't want somebody to be able to mess with somebody's application, but if it was a PDF file that they send in, then you can't really make any changes. So I just think it would be good to get the guidelines between now and fall to know before we send out an announcement what our expectations are.
I may have a suggestion for you. We can do the application and create a form out of a PDF that is fillable. And of course, if there's not enough space on the application for all of the information that the applicant would like to put on there, they can always add an attachment to it and note it on the application. But that will allow it to be fillable by them. And then when we post or make that publicly viewable in any way, we can make it so that it cannot be
Modified.
tampered with. Yes, modified is a good term as
Yeah.
well.
That sounds good to me. I mean, I know that in the past, way long time ago, you know, it seemed to me like it was a little clunky in terms of, you know, how it was compared to like other, you know, grants that you apply for. It just seemed a little, you know, old fashioned. So.
And I can't speak to your process because I'm new and I haven't been through it yet. But I have worked for planning and building going on 3 years. They have referrals for projects, and those referrals are posted on their website. So if you would like, we could make room on the Fish and Game page to upload PDF versions of applications that we receive.
Sounds good.
It's an option if you would like to pursue that.
Do we want to form a subcommittee for developing or updating the RFP and working with the county to get it into a fillable form? Or do we think that's just something that Caitlin can do? We review it at our next meeting and we say thumbs up.
I'd
Yeah, I
be
think that's
excited to work on that.
a good idea. I think Caitlin, I like Patty's idea of Caitlin reviewing it. She's right there with all the powers that be at the planning and building department, and you know, maybe she could bring something to the next meeting and we could look it over.
That sounds good to me, and we could review it. Like if any of our wording sounds, you know, either confusing or dated, we can kind of, you know, make sure that it's saying what we want to say.
Yes, that sounds good.
Let's do that. Do we make a
Caitlin, how does
motion?
it sound about you? I'm also very willing to help you in this process.
Great.
Welcome to the team. Here's a huge project.
Hey, Caitlin, if you need anything like a fillable form template with character limits so that we know like the approximately, you know, like for an abstract or a scope of work, you know, how much room to allow before you ask for attachments, I'd be happy to provide that information because we do this stuff all the time.
I would like to review prior applications and the documents that they submitted to those applications in order to create or modify the application to bring it to current standards.
Great.
We're gonna be 21st century folks here now. We're on Zoom. We're gonna have fillable PDFs, man.
Jeez.
No, stop that.
I know. I have
Are we
a
going to start
question.
getting miles on our credit card for showing up at meetings?
All right.
I
So it sounds like we all pretty much have our marching orders. at this moment of time, does anyone feel like there's a motion that they need to or want to make regarding this? Or do we kind of all just understand where we want to go?
I have a motion and a question. I think this is so great that Caitlin's doing this for us, and I'm so appreciative. I just have a question, Caitlin, that you're at the office, so you have to come back into the office at this time to do this work. Does all work have to be done at the building and planning?
Actually, I have not left the office at all for the day, as of yet. It was easy to transition from the end of my regular position with the county to then go into setting up the technological pieces to the meeting and then start it and have it here versus traveling somewhere else. Additionally, we do need to continue to utilize the county's equipment until we are able to get a quote in for a laptop for the commission, for the secretary to use, as well as the Zoom account that we are in process of trying to acquire for the commission.
That all sounds good.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I don't think
Do
we
we have to make a
answered,
motion?
I don't
Yeah.
think we answered Red Hawk's question about, do we need to make a motion about the grant process?
I don't know.
Caitlin, would you like a motion?
Are you carrying this item forward to another agenda?
Yes.
If the item is being carried forward to another agenda, we just need to note that it is being either carried to a date certain or carried to a date uncertain. So if we know the date of our next meeting and when we are going to review the item, we can make a motion to carry it to a date certain and insert that date, or we can make a motion to carry it forward to a future agenda without noting a date.
Red
Seems
Hawk,
to
do you
me
want
like-
to go?
Go ahead, Red Hawk.
Yeah, so I think we have multiple layers of things that we need to do here. So the first part is I think we need to make a motion to reinstate the grant program. And then there's the process of defining how we're going to do that. And I think that could go on to another agenda where Caitlin's going to give us information on the PDF files for applicants to use. So I'm good with whatever, but I think in this case, we should vote to reinstate the grant program, get that on our website so we don't continue to have the negative feedback from the public. So we just remove, I think we says that it's currently closed. We just remove that and then we continue to work on the application process. So what do you think, Caitlin? Do we need a motion to reinstate our grants program?
As we don't have a start date for it, I don't know that at this time we need a motion to start it. But that's ultimately your guys' decision.
I think it would be good, since the minutes are public, we can say that it was a discussion and that we are discussing reinstating it with the proviso that, we will be announcing it in, say, fall. Does that work for everybody? If that just goes in the minutes?
That would be good. I believe there is a date already established to when it would be started. I'm just trying to look that up right now. Maybe I'll do that.
What do
Do
you
we
think?
have like a May
do you think it
11th
would
date
be-
or something?
Go ahead, Randy.
Do you think it would be wise if we hold off on making the announcement that we will be accepting grant funds until, maybe we'll see how we go through this audit, and once we get clarification from the audit, then move forward with soliciting applications for the grant process?
That actually makes sense. Okay. So whatever you said, Patty, sounds good.
Yeah, we'll just note it in the minutes that we discussed reinstating the grant. You can even say we're going to wait until we get results of the audit and then we'll make an announcement.
I think it's important to have that we're waiting on our audit before we move forward with, accepting a grant cycle.
Sure, that seems responsible.
Point, Randy.
So noted.
All right. Good stuff. I'm excited to move forward with the grant cycles. Thank you guys for all of your work on this. Red Hawk, I know it's tiresome to go through the monies all the time and follow it down, but
It's all
we've done
good.
some good, we've had such cool grants in the past. I want to see that going again. But let's move straight on to 5B, discussion of possible action regarding the possible recommendations to the Mendocino County Board of Supervisors on Phase 3 cannabis. I'm going to, I think, Tracy, this was your item on the agenda.
Great. I didn't even know it made it on the agenda. That's fantastic.
We pulled it forward. Before we get going, I am recusing myself from this. So I was just going to log off. How much time would you guys want to chat? I can log back on after a certain amount of time, or if you end early, you can send me a text. Is that legal? To tell me to get back in.
I don't think you have to log. I use myself from, actual in-person meetings from different things. I think if you just don't comment, I think you're fine. Is that right, Caitlin?
That is correct. As long as you are not participating in the discussion and commenting on it, I don't believe that you need to physically leave the meeting. You would just, if you're recusing yourself, not want to participate. If you choose to leave the meeting, however, I can call you when the item is over, if you wanted to leave and log back in.
I'll just stay on for simplicity's sake. Streamline ourselves a bit, but have a way.
There's actually a third option.
I'd
I can move you to an attendee, and therefore you can still hear, but you would not at that time be able to speak, and I can move you back into the meeting as a full participant when the item's over.
I'm more than happy to keep silent on all things cannabis, honestly. So I shall enjoy my muted time.
Does somebody want to
I
introduce the
mentioned earlier,
topic?
Yeah.
as I mentioned before, I was leave the room, during when I recused myself from some agenda items in the past. So I don't think it's necessary to have her leave the meeting or put her off on the sidebar someplace. That is like I mentioned, if she just doesn't participate and or vote in anything.
Yeah, Anna, just stick around. You don't have to say anything. Let me just if it's okay, I'd like to just catch everybody up with what I know about the Phase 3 right now. Does this sound like an appropriate time?
You brought the item on the agenda, so we're taking our cues from you.
Okay, so they did, I don't want to tell you if you guys know what's going on. So they did an emergency moratorium on phase 3. We have up to 2 years of a grace period. And the reason they did that is because there's a whole bunch of things in that ordinance that aren't okay. So as it is right now, on April 6th, there is a statewide bill going to what's it called, extension. So the legacy, all the people that are in the queue right now, phase 1 and 2 that you've heard about, there's a bill going and it will be voted on the 6th, that the people that are so afraid that there's nothing that they can do because their provisional license runs out, that will be extended. Possibly, we'll know after the 6th, for 5 years. So that pressure of a phase 3 to get the legacy farmers through will be a lot less, because there's that pressure of, we have to do this now, because if we don't do it now, they're going to lose their license. So that's going to be some great news, hopefully, if we get that extension, because then we can give, it relieves the pressure valve on, we need to do it right now feeling, to take care of the small farmers that are already through the process. And lots of people have commented. If you guys don't want to comment, I understand too. I think that the whole county is commenting. So, I mean, we can just do it individually, because we are standing up for wildlife, habitat conservation, watershed, and all. I mean, this would be an end game, the 10% rule, as we all know. And we have people doing it because the thing is this: once the supervisors say you can, people just do. That's the scary part. See, what they'll say is, well, they have all these rules to go through and they're not allowed to start doing it until they've been approved and their sequence complete and all that. They're not even allowed to start the project. Well, we have people starting the project right now because it's even a hint in the air. And so that's the problem. If it gets squished, then it'll be easier for sheriff, it'll be easier for everybody to see what's legal, what's not legal, and what's going on. But if I just brought it to the table to see if Fish and Game wanted to comment on that, to say that we think that the 10% rule is not a good idea. And that's where I was coming from. And that's really about it. And that's my update with that.
So I have a question for.
Yeah, before I made any.
Go ahead.
Good.
We're not hearing you.
Me?
I said, go ahead. You had a comment?
Well, I have a process question, and that is, well, whether it's cannabis or it's trapping or it's anything that the Board of Supervisors are considering that touches upon Fish and Game Commission purview, which I think we know what our purview is, but I'm not sure the supervisors remember, because the supervisors are going to the Planning Commission for things like the cannabis ordinance, but they're not coming to us. So I kind of feel, my personal feeling about this is, no matter what you think personally about cannabis, the best way to give feedback to the Board of Supervisors is for them to ask for our input, and they haven't. And so I kind of feel like until they do, we can only respond as individuals. That's my.
So I said to both Ted Williams and Hascheck, you need to ask the Fish and Game Commission. I put that out there and they said, well, we'd love to hear. I mean, it wasn't like we were asked. They were like, yeah, we'll say something. So and also on the wildlife services thing, the same thing. I'm like, we should be talking to us about the wildlife services thing. So I don't know that the supervisors will ever ask us anything. It doesn't seem like, personally, like that. It just doesn't. I don't know why. Not even the wildlife services thing, and that's obviously very wildlife.
Caitlin's got her hand up.
Oh, I can't see. Thank you.
I have seen in Board of Supervisors meetings on previous items, commissions or departments submitting letters to the Board of Supervisors, which would be entered as part of the public comment on an item. If you guys so agreed on doing such a letter, the deadline for that would be for the Board of Supervisors. I believe that it's the day prior to the meeting. The Phase 3 Cannabis Ordinance update is set to be heard on April 19th. Therefore, a submission in the form of a letter or something, I believe, would need to be into the clerk of the board's office by the 16th, the Friday prior.
Yes.
Anybody else want to weigh in on this? Red Hawk.
So if we do present a letter to the Board of Supervisors from the commission, I support it as long as we stick with fish and wildlife type stuff. And we don't deviate from that at all. I support it. So before we submit the letter, whoever is going to write it, if I think all the commissioners should review the letter before it is submitted. So you have my support with that, as long as it stays with the protection of the fish and wildlife.
Randy, what do you
Yeah,
think?
I agree, Red Hawk, with you on. So, you know, the letter has to go, if I'm correct on this, before a vote to the commissioners, and those that are in favor of it, you know, it has to pass, you know, with not a unanimous decision, but, you know, 5 commissioners and 3 have to approve it. And it states similar to what the Board of Supervisors do when they vote on something, you know, it's.
So
What is the date of our next meeting?
Are we going to
March
continue to
9th?
meet on Fridays?
So back up. Caitlin, did you have a question?
Yes, Commissioner Paulson, I do. What was the date of our next meeting?
Right.
Our next meeting would be, if we stick with the normal rotation, would be May 11. Tuesday, May 11.
All right, so then in that case, we're currently in a special meeting right now. So if it's the second Tuesday of the month that we're looking at, your next regular meeting would actually be on the 13th of this month. In which case, if you had a draft letter by the morning of the 9th, I could have it posted along with an agenda, including the item. The board could review and potentially approve a letter, and it would still make the submission deadline for the Board of Supervisors for the 19th meeting.
So that, I think that would work. The 13th would have to be a special meeting. We normally meet every other month. Because this is a special meeting, our normally scheduled meeting would be on May 11. I have no problem having a special meeting for, next week if needed or whatever. Does that answer your questions, Caitlin?
It is up to I didn't realize it was every other month. I'm sorry. I'm on, my mind is on a monthly schedule. But if you would like to call a special meeting for the 13th, we can do that. That would be a decision that you as a commission would make. And I would just do the legwork.
I'm in favor. I think we need to draft this letter together and make it consensus based. Perhaps like Tracy suggested, just focus on the impacts to fish and wildlife on expansion, unless there's anything else that is piquing people's interest. I've been involved with my work, reaching out to cannabis farmers in terms of best management practices that support conservation values. So I do have a couple of bullet points that I think, we could discuss that might make a good letter that is not really going to be super controversial, but would provide the guidance. So like, that's kind of in my MO, is like, let's give them some constructive feedback rather than just thumbs down, Here's what we think could improve your phase 3 or whatever we want to say. So. And perhaps we
I
could
think
craft
that's it.
this as a short letter if we do meet on the 13th.
Mhm, mhm.
Let's try to have it done before the 13th.
Okay,
So we have time, because Caitlin, I think, said the 16th has to be filed. That's not a whole
Okay.
lot of time. So if we work on the letter and have basically a
a draft.
final draft, or something that has some meat and potatoes for the 13th, that would be great. I don't know if we need to have an ad hoc committee to put this together, or if somebody's just going to take the lead and write it. However we want to do it. I'm open.
Well, I would like to caution that Tracy and Anna, because they're pretty close to this issue, that maybe they don't take a lead on this, and that it's basically the three of us. We can't really do it because of Brown Act, right? In terms of an ad hoc committee, it has to be a committee of 2. Is that correct, Caitlin?
Yes, that is correct. An ad hoc would have to be no more than 2 members of the commission.
Well, I'm willing to participate in terms of impacts to fish and wildlife through the 10% expansion, and come up with some bullet points that we think that need to be considered. Would somebody like to partner with me on that?
I will review whatever you write. How's that?
Okay, good.
Yay!
I want, the next 2 weeks for me are going to be relatively busy. So if
Yeah.
you put together a letter, email it to me, I'll review it.
Okay.
And 2 cents in there.
Do we need to
Thank you,
discuss it
Patty.
anymore
Thank you,
now, or
Patty.
should we just move on? Yeah, Randy?
Oh, no, go ahead. I had the scratch.
Oh, okay. So just the bullet points that I have in my mind are, I listened to the Cannabis Hour and they were talking about rangeland being 240 acres. And I'm like, well, they don't live in Covelo or Anderson Valley, because rangeland is in the thousands of acres typically. So an expansion of 10% could be 300 acres or more. And I question whether there are legitimate sources of water, especially, currently a lot of cannabis cannabis farmers are trucking water, and water development is really, it's a good thing, but it needs to be done with conservation values in mind. The other thing is roads. We, in Mendocino County, we've spent millions and millions of dollars to clean up poorly built roads, legacy roads, from logging, from, just unchecked development, because we don't have a grading ordinance that's enforced, that has any teeth in it in this county. And I would say that if we opened up a lot more of our rangeland and, agricultural lands that are of a large size, they're going to need to build roads. And so that has to be done with environmental sensitivity. So those are the 2 things that really stand out to me.
Mhm.
The water and the roads, sediment and basically water availability.
One of the points that I would probably add to your letter is fencing and the impact on birds. That's
yes.
something that are totally unaware of. If you put a 6 to 8 foot fence up, it's like a gill net on the surface of the land. It basically, it's phenomenal how many birds are harmed just from fencing. So that's something I would add.
Yeah, wildlife friendly fencing. I would say no
Wildlife corridors.
roads. And then, basically they have to follow some criteria for water development that is not drafting. I mean, currently you can't have licensed cannabis and draft out of a stream during the dry months. But, people put in, tiles, drain tiles, and they collect water that otherwise would run off to streams, or they use wells that are connected to, could potentially be connected to streams. So I just feel like those simple things, the whole thing with herbicides and pesticides and poisoning, those aren't allowed in legal cannabis anyway.
Right. Well, there's a whole set of guidelines for the water use that is set in place already by the state
Right.
Water Resource Board, California Fish and Wildlife.
Yes.
And the majority of what I've seen out there is not following or not compliant. It is in place right now. So anyway,
Yeah. So I will draft you something, Red Hawk, and I will send it to you early next week.
Perfect. I like it.
Okay. And then you can pass it on to Caitlin or the rest or whoever can distribute it. So that
I
you don't
will
get in
review-
Brown Act trouble.
I will review it and then send it back to you. And then
Okay.
you can pass it on, I believe, Caitlin.
I will. Okay.
And I can send it out as a blind copy to the commissioners and post a draft on the website along with the agenda.
Perfect.
And
So to make-
in the meantime, is it okay if people send me any ideas they have? I mean, I won't have any back and forth with them, or do I just need to do it with Red Hawk? Okay, you're shaking your head, so I guess this is the
Sorry,
discussion.
I have to unmute myself in multiple places
Oh, I'm sorry.
before I can speak. So if they submitted comments to you, it would be considered a serial meeting under.
Okay, all right, we won't do that. Okay, can Anna join again? Okay, Red Hawk.
Hang on, just Caitlin, what do we need to do do we need to make a motion to have this occur? This letter to be written, or do we have to do any procedure there? Or what's your
I would recommend a motion that maybe that the board would like Commissioner Madigan to draft a letter and to work with Commissioner Paulson to have that draft letter ready for the next meeting. I think it would be good to have a motion on that.
Okay, so Patty, do you want to make the motion?
Sure. I move that that the Fish and Game Commission draft a letter and form an ad hoc of two of Commissioner Madigan and Commissioner Paulson to respond to proposal by the Board of Supervisors with respect to Phase 3 cannabis, and that we will draft a letter that will be considered at a special board meeting on the 13th.
I second it.
Yay!
Okay, so
I still need a vote. So all in favor,
Aye.
please say aye.
I
Aye. Aye, aye, aye.
Motion passes with a 4-0 vote. And Commissioner Newman has recused herself from this item.
Perfect.
What's next?
Am I back?
Yeah.
You,
I think this is, with Anna back, the next is going to be Commissioner Van and the hammer horn.
Yep. Randy, take it away.
There was a meeting that took place last week with the Forest Service, and Gabley, the M&F chief, wants to meet with me again. Going forward with the bear program, which is working on rehabilitating these areas, the Hammerhorn Lake mainly, that we're involved with, and using our money and matching with Forest Service bear money and recreation funds that they're hopefully working on through different congressmen. And so basically I said it still kind of stands as is, and I'm looking forward to what Frank and I get out of this next meeting and report back to the commission on that. My feeling is the money's still going to be used in a positive manner for recreation and for wildlife, including trout and, camping opportunities for not only youth, but for handicapped and challenged folks that have access getting to the water's edge. So I would hope that the commission would bear with me on this as we move forward slowly and trying to figure out the best way to utilize the money that has already been set aside through, the previous grant cycles and was awarded to the Forest Service. They're struggling, as many people are these days. And in my opinion, they're doing the best they can with what they have to work with.
That sounds good to me, Randy. I know it's been a hard time and I want to see that project go through in the end. So if you guys are making it work, I definitely trust you and your judgment. And I'd love to see more access to that area. So off we go.
Yeah, it's a big point to them for our involvement and to to show that we're willing to work with them. It was very well received by the powers that be, and I believe in the Senate and in the Congress, as well as our local administration in the Mendocino National Forest. So it's very positive, but it's also very frustrating because things are moving a lot slower than they have in the past pre-pandemic.
So I'm wondering how this is going to be reflected in the audit, because that's my only concern with let's just give them a chance and let them keep going. I mean, goodwill is one thing, but if we are marked down in the audit for our fiscal oversight, we might have to reconsider based on their findings. So I'm in support until the auditors tell us that we need to do something. We need to consider something else. So, I mean, I say this because our organization gets audited every year.
Yeah, that money was already set aside and issued to the Forest Service, and from my understanding, it's in a special fund. So I don't know that the audit would show that, being it's been several years out. I think the audit has to do with where the why the monies weren't coming in from citations and stuff, and why our account was so low for so long. Meetings and Commissioner Spallison's work with the county, they got some good figures back, and I think I'm hoping it's going to be a good positive audit.
Okay. Anybody else? Tracy, what the heck is happening with your camera? I'm going to get seasick.
I'm so sorry. I have to hold it. I'm like, and so I'm just like, I'm sorry.
I feel like I'm on the whirly gig.
I'm sorry here.
That's okay.
Yeah, maybe I'm just gonna turn my video off. Is that okay, you guys? I'm just gonna turn my
Yeah.
video off. All right.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
bye.
Bye.
Nice to
I'm
see
here
you.
though. I'm totally here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Randy, we're gonna expect then this agenda item to follow through onto the next meeting's agenda. Possibly not
Yep.
the very next one, the special one coming up, but the one after. Just to keep updated on the situation.
Yeah, I think on our next general meeting, I'll have a better update. Frank said he'd like to soon, and discuss, some final options for the use of the money. So, hopefully we can put it forward to help kick this program off. And that'll be the end of it for us, except for the follow-up to make sure that the work's done. It's, I like to follow up on.
All right, good. Well, thanks for taking this on. It's definitely important. So we're through with unless there's anything else on this project. There. We're through on most of our agenda items, commissioner reports. Red Hawk, you want to start us off with the bang? Commissioner reports?
Okay, sure. There we go. I have nothing significant to report. Just as a thought, we have kind of a treasurer position. It's not an official position. Would anybody like to jump in on that? I kind of took it on a couple years ago. I think it was Anna and I were working on it. And Patty, are you interested? Tracy, Randy, getting involved in following the funds?
It's definitely not my forte.
Nor mine. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just keep doing it then.
It's a hard sell of a position.
We get a special award or something for that. Is there
Nope,
something
nope, we're good. So that's it. I have nothing else.
All right, Randy, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think I pretty much covered mine, Anna, with the Hammerhorn update. That's all I really have to report on.
Good stuff. Patty, anything fun happening in your area?
Well, I'm just seeing water levels drop, and I think the drought is going to be a big ticket issue this spring and summer and fall. And so seeing a lot of big tanks going by, people are putting in water storage, and we're all gotta be prepared. I think that stream flows are exceptionally low. Navarro River, for an example, main stem Rancheria Creek didn't start running until December. It's already drying up with lots of algae. So keep your puppies out of the stream and, use water sparingly. That's all basically. The fish report is that we did have spawning coho earlier in the year, and we've had steelhead, but in those systems where they have a sandbar that closes, those fish probably are not going to get out in time to make their annual trek back to the ocean. So we're, things are not looking good water-wise. That's it for me.
That's a bummer. Tracy, what you got for us?
Okay. Okay. So you guys know about the wildlife services. I listened to that board of supervisors meeting, and I love the exclusion idea. I mean, knowing just, being on hotline for all those years, I can honestly tell you that wildlife exclusion is one of the biggest deals that we need to get going on here, because wildlife services can't do that service. They're hands off. But Abby Theinke, I remember we met her, she's so fantastic. So I don't think that firing wildlife services is the answer. I think that a lot of people have an issue with Brennan himself or something like that, but I saw it and I feel like there's answers here because we should do the exclusion like they want, because that's really going to help wildlife and community. And we should definitely keep Abby on. She's doing a great job. She loves it here, and she has a great community rapport. She's all about education and prevention. So I gave my own personal opinion about it, but I don't know where it's going to go, but it's very interesting. I think that we're going to elevate to more education outreach, and that's where we need to go with the whole thing, because people, especially coming from the Bay, they just don't understand what's going on, and it's up to us. I mean, not us, but us. And that's my report.
Tracy, I'm kind of interested. I fell a little bit out of the loop on the wildlife services. Can we make this an agenda item so you can fill us in next week?
I know. I missed it. The agenda had already gone out. And yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to keep abreast on all of that. Because when we did meet Abby, she seemed so positive, and it was before she'd moved out here. And we are getting a huge influx of people into the county from the Bay Area. So maybe education outreach is where we need to go, but we also need to make sure our wildlife stays safe and our people stay safe.
Well,
thank you.
And our livestock stays safe.
Yeah.
And see, it's a whole everything. And so it's all of the above. They have it into an either or, but it's really an all of the above. And that's what we need here. And so it's like there's not really a versus, it's an inclusive situation, and Abby's awesome, and we're really lucky to have her. And so it was, lots and lots of stories. And yes, we'll put it as an agenda item, and I'll get more information and maybe get some people to come on and share with us as well.
Cool. Thank you so much. You're the guru at all of this, and I feel it's so important. So I'm just gonna keep asking you to agendize it and keep us abreast.
You got it. Okay, my pleasure.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Anything else in your area?
Oh, me?
Yep.
No, I sent out those elk maps to Randy and to Red Hawk, and I haven't heard anything more on the situation as of yet, that Caltrans has done anything with the elk crossing signs in Laytonville. So and that's where we're at right now, right? Yeah. And it was John going to Caltrans. I think is what he said. Yeah, he asked Caltrans. And that really is it. That's really my whole report.
Okay, good stuff. Not much is happening in my area. I think the commercial salmon regulations came out, and it looks like it's going to be a slow season for Northern California, which we expected with, as Patty was saying, so little water. But yeah, if that's all I got for you.
So sad.
I know. So it sounds like we're going to have another meeting coming up on the 13th of this month.
Caitlin's got her hand up.
Oh, Caitlin, sorry.
It's all right. I did have one item for this agenda item, and that is that Commissioner Curra's appointment expired in January of this year. So he would either need to send an email to the clerk of the board's office asking to be reappointed, or we need a new commissioner in that seat.
Can someone
Okay.
reach out to him?
We actually have had a huge struggle reaching out to him to support the Brown Act. I don't really save y'all's phone numbers, with the exception of the lovely Miss Caitlin here, but I don't have any contact information for Michael. So we'll try to find a way to contact him. All of our old contact information was lost.
Red
Red Hawk.
Red Hawk has an
The
idea.
board. and see what contact information the clerk of the board has for him and try and reach out that way if you'd like.
Okay. Red Hawk, do you have something going on?
Yeah, Caitlin kind of picked up on it. So part of the application process for the commission, you give your mailing address, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff. So I would recommend pulling up his application. It should be on file with the clerk of the board, and send him a letter notifying that his position has been expired. And if we don't get a response back in a timely fashion, he's just out and we move on.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Technically, until that position is filled, he can still sit, even though it is expired, he can still sit in the seat. The clerk of the board would just need him to reach out to them and let them know that he wants to be reappointed, and would need support from his district's supervisor.
Yeah, that was something I was going to mention. He was appointed by whoever supervisor is. So maybe the clerk could reach out to that supervisor and see, because it was his appointment. So you have to be sponsored by the supervisor. So might be a good idea to follow up with the supervisor that appointed him.
I don't even remember who this guy is.
Yeah, exactly. Randy, I think that's a good idea also. So what direction should we give Caitlin on this? Should we go to the supervisor, or we just email or mail a letter direct to him?
I would
I
like
think for, I don't, it's hard
suggestion
to say,
of reaching out
if they'll
directly
read
to
it.
him. Sorry, Randy. I was just saying that I think that
I don't. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Caitlin. You got the floor.
okay. I was just gonna say that I think that we should contact him directly, as there have been changes to the Board of Supervisors, and I am not entirely sure which district or what seat he was in, but it is entirely possible that there is a new supervisor for that district.
Agreed.
I think he was
Or
the at-large
supervisor.
person, wasn't he?
I don't think so.
No?
No, he wasn't at large. I don't believe. But yeah, let's reach out directly to him. Also, our supervisors are quite busy folk. And I don't want to pester them with more than we need to pester them with.
Perfect. I like it. Let's do it.
Good stuff. All right, so Caitlin, do you have any more to report?
I do not.
Okay, so the next meeting would be April 13th. That's a Tuesday. I'm personally a fan of this 6 p.m. Business, because it means that you're outside of office hours, so it's a little easier for Caitlin at the county and her normal job, and then the rest of us, I personally struggled on the middle of the day meetings.
The 13th at 6 p.m. works for me.
Fine for me.
Okay.
Good for me.
Good stuff then. Are we ready to adjourn our meeting?
I'm good.
Yes, I make a motion to adjourn.
I
Second.
second it.
Oh,
Tracy seconds.
Thank you for the confirmation of the second from Commissioner Peller.
Say that one more time.
I believe that was a confirmation of a second by Commissioner Peller. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time then.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Nice to see
everyone.
y'all.
Next time, Patty, send me a letter.
I will.